This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour. This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, February 14th show. I am here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with any of the guests that I have in the studio, you can call into the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, Geoff Patrick with Sound Transit, here to share with us the updates on completing current regional transit projects and the work getting underway to shape a Sound Transit 3 ballot measure. It's always a pleasure to have you here. It's been a few times that you've came into studio and shared your information about what's happening out at Sound Transit. And just thank you so much, Geoff, for spending time with me and sharing with my listeners.
Thanks for having me back.
And background on Geoff Patrick is Media Relations and Public Information Manager at Sound Transit, which serves the more than 40% of Washington's residents who live in Central Puget Sound region. Sound Transit's express buses, commuter trains, and expanding light rail systems are playing an increasingly crucial role in the region's transportation network. By 2023, Sound Transit is on target to deliver 34 miles of light rail expansions to form a 50-mile system that will significantly expand the capacity of some of the region's most congested transportation corridors, with the region's population projected to rise 30% by 2040. Patrick is responsible for promoting the public's involvement in shaping where the future ballot measures should further expand transit after current projects are completed in 2023. And 2023 sounds like a long ways away, but it really isn't. It's kind of just coming around the corner, and lots of things to decide on what's going to happen over in your arena. So let's talk, where is Sound Transit in completing the light rail extensions, Geoff?
Well, as you just mentioned in your overview, we are on track to complete the projects in 2023 as voters approved in 2008. There's a lot of work going on right now, and so at that horizon of 2023, we'll have light rail between Seattle and Linwood. We'll have it operating between Seattle, Mercer Island, Bellevue, and the Overlake area of Redmond, and we'll also have it down to the Kent, Des Moines area in South King County. In the interim, there'll be some milestones opening different segments, and we're really excited about the next one to open, which is in early 2016, 6 to 9 months early. We're set to open the University Link light rail extension, which will go to entirely underground subway line going north from downtown Seattle to Capitol Hill and the University of Washington. And we're on track to complete that $150 million under budget. So it's
wow, that's exciting. By 2016.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's great in my arena. I mean, I do the lending side of it, but obviously in helping people secure mortgages for residential real estate, and just the opportunity for people to commute and get around easier is going to be a really great boost for our economy. Not that we need it in the real estate market right now, but never enough, right?
Right.
And so let's talk, what about the people? How many people are going to be riding light rail, Geoff?
Well, today we've got around 33,000 riders each weekday, and that's going to ramp up over time as we complete more projects. Later in 2016, we do have another project opening down to one stop further south from the airport, and we'll get to Northgate in 2020. And, so what we'll see is a gradual, or in some cases perhaps not gradual, increase in the amount of riders we serve, up to a projected 280,000 riders each weekday in 2030. So that'll be very welcome as our region's population keeps growing. As you mentioned, 30% more people by 2040. That means a lot more people trying to travel and a lot more congestion. And light rail is going to be there to get people around without congestion. And every person who rides light rail is somebody who's not going to be adding to the congestion in the roads. Exactly.
And so we talked a little bit about the real estate and how it helps. What does this really mean for our economy, the businesses, overall our real estate, Geoff?
Well, I think it's any region is attractive or not attractive to residents and businesses based on how well people can get around. And if people and if freight can't move, that's a major disincentive. It's companies really look to mobility when they decide where to locate and invest in an expansion. And so having a functional transportation system means access to better jobs. And so that ripples throughout the economy. So that's why there's so much, that's one of the reasons why there's so much interest here on options for making things better as our population keeps going up.
And on the real estate side, I mean, there's a lot, especially in the first-time home buyer market, or people that lost their homes and were affected in the meltdown, not in a position to be able to get back into the market because where they're working, real estate is just too expensive. So this gives the ability to be able to work farther away, live farther away, and be able to get into real estate with better transportation.
That's exactly right. It gives you more options. Those options include living further out, as you said. Also, what you see is that around the country, around the world, that rail transit investments play a role in spurring vibrant, positive urban development.
Yes.
Density with, it's, a lot of people now are looking to that place where they don't have any yard work, they don't have a long commute, they can be in a dense area with great restaurants and entertainment destinations all around. So light rail will play a role in that too.
And I have had representation to see a presentation of what's happening with the visuals and a face-to-face, and unlike radio, we can't. But where would you encourage my listeners to go that they can, because it's really beautiful when you look at some of the pictures and the photographs of how this is going to look. So where do you post those?
Well, we got a lot of great stuff on our website, www.soundtransit.org, and so there's always great resources there. If you go to the place at the above right says About Sound Transit, you can get some good background. Or the great thing to do is just get out and take a joyride on light rail.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about Sound Transit has begun work to shape a Sound Transit 3 ballot measure for consideration next year. What will the package include?
Well, we're just in the process of looking at that. What would our package include? There's a huge amount of interest in further expansion and recognition that with the long lead times associated with any kind of major infrastructure development, you got to think about these questions, well out in advance. The projects we talk about for a 2016 ballot measure are projects that be coming online in the 2030 timeframe. So, and it's going to be a different picture than today, even worse than today when it comes to congestion. So, there's a lot of interest in the part of our board in what's shorthanded as the regional transit spine, trying to complete light rail all the way up to Everett, all the way down to Tacoma, all the way out to downtown Redmond, and also identifying some other corridors in the region that are particularly high demand and would be well served by rail in particular.
Got it. Okay. And what is the status of securing the additional revenue authority that is needed before voters can consider a measure?
Well, before we can have a ballot measure, the Washington State Legislature needs to give us the tools to do that.
Yeah.
We, the local voters will have the final say on what we do and would be involved in shaping the measure. But right now, Sound Transit's seeking additional sales tax, property tax, and that authority from the state of Washington that would be a precursor to allowing voters to consider a measure.
Got it. And what are you hearing from the public, Geoff? Will people support more investments?
There's a lot of support for more investments. I guess one, probably the best example would be in December we did our latest survey checking voter opinion about expansion issues, reflected 70% support around the region. That includes Snohomish, King, Pierce counties, the whole area of more than 50 cities that these services operate. And in that area, 70% of voters voiced support for a hypothetical $15 billion 15-year package to expand rail in particular.
Okay.
So that's a fairly high level of support for that. There's a lot of pain out there. I mean, I can rattle a few statistics off at you, but just in the last 3 years alone, there's been a dramatic increase in travel delays. It now takes an average of 80 minutes to get between Everett and Seattle on I-5. You've got So you've got a really substantial increase just in a 3-year period. It's up like 10 minutes, and so that's time out of people's days, and there's a lot of pain in people's lives because it's not just that they have to allow more time because of uncertainty.
Yes.
The benefit of rail is how long it's going to take to get you there each time.
Yeah.
Whereas with traffic congestion, actually that 80-minute figure I gave you was the amount of time you have to allow to go between Seattle and Everett if you want to be on time 19 out of 20 times.
Yeah.
So.
And I have to say, if anybody on my team is late one time out of 20 times, it's too many. I mean, you can't get to your place of employment late, so leaving early and spending that much more time in that process. So, Geoff, what about the main arguments for a ballot measure? What are you hearing?
Well, I think it's that dynamic that we're talking about here, that we got to do something.
Yes.
There's more people coming, and the reality is that in many of the most congested areas, there are not that many options for providing additional transportation capacity. They're just not there. I mean, you think about many places you might drive, whether it's downtown Seattle or other urban areas. To add more lanes, you'd be talking about ripping out overchanges, or in some cases, biting into skyscrapers, there's just the dollar figures are tremendous. And when you talk about light rail, it's a pretty good value proposition because a single light rail line can move, over time, and as population grows, up to 12,000 people an hour in each direction. Where you look at a single lane of traffic, and in the best of conditions, it can carry like 2,000 cars an hour.
Okay.
But when things bog down in congestion, that hourly capacity drops down to 700 an hour. So,
oh my gosh.
It's just one of those realities that other regions have encountered before us, that you can't. There's a point at which, especially in the most congested areas, that you can't really rely on roads to add that capacity that we need to sustain our economy and our quality of life.
Yes. So, Geoff, if I have if my listeners want to get involved, what can they do? As a wrap up here, give a call to action.
Well, on our in the coming months, Sound Transit's going to go out and have meetings around the region to identify the public's priorities and what should be a part of a Sound Transit 3 ballot measure. And it's going to be a great opportunity for people to weigh in on what they think. And there's always information on what we're doing at www.soundtransit.org.
Perfect.
And so it'll be a good opportunity for folks to help shape the future.
Wonderful. Geoff, thank you again so much for coming back in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you, and popular podcast when we share with all of our database and our client base. Definitely a popular repeat for people to hear. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And coming up next on the Money Hour, have you had any credit challenges? Do you want to get approved for a loan, get better interest rates, or maybe get that job that you want? Your credit challenges may prevent from all of these happening. But today I can help you by listening in with my next guest, Scott Schaff with SWW Group Credit Repair, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.